Ladies and gentle gamers, the Stonking update has just dropped on the alpha, and I've been trying to get in for at least an hour, but we're going to jump into it. But if you want these videos to come out a little bit faster, make sure to subscribe so I can get through the queue with red name at 30k subs. Okay, so the first thing they added is this new dungeon breaker. So this is basically the only thing you'll be able to use to stonk. You'll see if I try and use a diamond pickaxe, it's not going to insta break any blocks or anything. So you're only going to be able to use this new dungeon breaker. It costs 500 wither essence. It is currently in the Ophelia shop. I think they'll probably change it to the blacksmith before release, but it does seem a bit out of place at the Ophelia shop. But you can see the ability here. While in the catacombs, consume 1 charge to break a block. Blocks reappear after 10 seconds and restore 1 charge. And you can break up to 30 blocks every 10 seconds, basically, is what that means. So you can use it to break down these super boom blocks. Instead of using a super boom, you can just do that. And as you can see, I can just walk straight through these. On the old stonking mechanics, you used to have to do some crazy shenanigans to be able to get into blocks. Like you had to line yourself up perfectly on a stair or ether warp into a fence post and stand in it and then break blocks. But as you can see now, if I want to get into something, I can just break through it right there and just walk straight in. Chests can still be locked, of course, if it's behind a lever or something like that. But stonking in general is just going to be completely different. Routes are going to be totally different. Now that you don't have to think about how to line yourself up to get through a wall and stuff, you just have to mine through it and not really do anything to set yourself up for it. And as you can see, I am playing on 1.21, by the way, so all this gameplay is 1.21 gameplay. So if you so choose, you can do dungeons in 1.21 and you'll be able to stonk. Now there are some blocks that you're not going to be able to break. For instance, if I try and just mine myself out of the map, then I won't be able to do that. Or if I haven't killed like all the wither mobs yet, I'm not able to mine through the door or around the door to be able to get to it. So in order for me to actually make it to the next wither room, I will still, of course, have to actually get the wither key. But other than things related to keys or just like accidentally trying to mine out of the map, you can mine pretty much any block that you choose with this. So I can just mine pretty much anything and walk straight through it. So this is definitely going to change up the routes method a lot. Like for instance, I could just mine straight into here. You can see it is a little bit slower than using an efficiency 10. Like the insta break does seem a little bit sluggish, but I think the routes that will be allowed by this is definitely going to make it so that's not really that big of an issue. But like there's just so many new applicable things that you can think of to do with this new change. I'm sure the dungeon route designers are going to have a field day with this one. I am on F7. We are about to get to the boss fight, and you'll see how much crazier it is with the things you can do in the boss fight for I4 and pre-dev, early enter, all that stuff. But before we go in, I know a lot of people are worried about the skill gap here. Mostly the high level M7 players. There's no skill gap anymore. Anybody can do anything, and yeah, it definitely has been made a lot easier, but this is really going to create more of a knowledge gap than anything. Before it was a skill and like mechanical skill and knowledge gap. Now the knowledge is out there open for everybody to obtain. It's just you have to know what routes to do and what skips you can do in boss fights, mainly M7 and F7. But this is also going to make it so that there's more players in dungeons and, more importantly, more good players in dungeons. So your dungeon parties are going to be a lot better on average. So although everybody else is getting faster runs, you'll be getting faster runs too. So this change shouldn't have slowed down your runs at all. It should have made your runs way faster once it comes to the main server. I would expect the price of a lot of the RNG drops from dungeons to go down a bit, but your money per hour should stay about the same. The money you make from dropping a single handle will go down, but since you're getting more runs in per hour, you should, in theory, drop more handles. And especially if you're one of the first people to learn new routes and start implementing them, your run speed should skyrocket, and along with that, the money that you make per hour. Unfortunately, I got limboed out of that run, but thankfully, I do have some footage that I got before I started recording the whole video just in case they close the alpha. And I'm glad I did, because as you can see here, you can just mine a block in the floor to get down to the section for Storm. So if you're doing pre-dev or if you're birds prepping for I4, you can mine down just normally like that. And also, when you go for I4 or for pre-dev, you can just mine through the walls. And the mining for getting down to I4 is a little bit different if you don't want to use spring boots to jump back up. But if you have spring boots, I'm sure you can mine through the way that you always have. It's just now you're not going to want to prep your mine through the walls before you actually get to that point. Before this update, whenever you wanted to go do I4, you would mine through before all of the wither skeletons spawn in storm phase and then come back and jump through later. Now you're not going to be able to do that mine through since those blocks will only stay broken for 10 seconds. So you'll have to wait until after Storm's Lightning to mine through there and then actually break it. So you can see right here, if we go over to Ophelia, she's the one who sells the Dungeon Breaker for 500 Wither Essence. Again, this is an odd place for this to be, so hopefully it gets changed to the blacksmith in his Wither Essence shop. But for now, this is where you can find it. And also with this update, once it releases on main, they should also be releasing the RNG meter for Tarantula Slayer. So all the new drops, Shriveled Wasp, Ensnared Snail, and Primordial Eye will be available to select from the RNG meter. And also they have finally buffed the Sting. So this is me with a maxed out Sting. I'm not, of course, in the right armor for this right now, but if we test this thing on a spider, it does 1.1 million damage. If we warp over to the crypts, the Axe of the Shredded is doing 1.3 million. So that is a lot closer to each other's damage on their specific mobs than it has been previously. So Sting has received a pretty significant buff, as well as all of the previous upgrades from it. Apparently before the damage was additive, and now it's multiplicative like it should be, so that should make it a lot better for fighting the T5 Broodfather boss. You will also notice the Shriveled Wasp used to be 700,000 Slayer XP to drop it from RNG meter. They have increased its drop rate by double, so it is much cheaper from RNG meter, and you should drop more of them, literally twice as many as you did before. They also changed how wooden singularities work, so they can only be applied to axes, and they now give plus 25 foraging fortune instead of increasing the rarity of wooden swords and giving them extra damage. So maxed out Jerry swords are going to be a lot cheaper now. If you do have a weapon with a wooden singularity on it, you can take it to the master tactician in the park to get a refund. Ladies and gentlemen, that is everything I have to show you for today's alpha. Again, I don't know when it's coming to the main server. I wish they told me this information. If they did, I would tell you, but I do not know when this will come to the main server. But I do think it's a good update. It's going to make a lot of dungeon runs a lot faster and bad dungeon parties a lot better. But let me know what you guys think in the comments. Thank you so much for watching to the end. As always, make sure to drop a like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll catch you in the next one. Have a great rest of your day, and God bless.